Hi everybody, welcome back to our latest edition of Through the Bible in 5 Minutes. Today we take a look at the fifth book in the Bible and what may be my favorite book in all of the Old Testament. We're talking about Deuteronomy. The name literally means second law, or the second giving of the law, because in Deuteronomy, Moses repeats the 10 Commandments that were originally articulated in the book of Exodus, and he summarizes all of the law that was previously given in the first 4 books of the Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers. The reason Moses does this, that the entire book of Deuteronomy is really a repetition of what he's already taught them, is that Moses is soon going to die. Deuteronomy is his swan song, his final chance to speak into the life of this nation that he loves so dearly. Keep in mind that through the entire 40-year history of the nation of Israel, Moses has been their only leader. He was the one who stood before the burning bush and heard the voice of God telling him to go back to Pharaoh and tell him, "Let my people go." It was Moses who stood there with his staff in the air before the Red Sea, seeing those waters parted and standing up so the children of Israel could pass through on dry land. It was Moses who climbed up to the top of Mount Sinai, seething with smoke, fire, and thunder. There he heard the very voice of God and was given the 10 Commandments carved with the finger of God. Moses has been the only leader of the Israelite people for all these 40 years. He led them all through the wilderness, seeing them fed with manna and quail, and they drank water literally from solid rock. Moses was part of all this. Now he has led them to the east side of the Jordan. They're about to cross over into the promised land, but Moses is not going with them. This is his last chance to speak instruction and words of warning and hope and encouragement into this people that he loves so much. Keep in mind that during the entire 400 years that the Israelites were in slavery in Egypt, they really knew nothing about God. They had no priests, no scriptures, no tabernacle, no temple. All they really knew is that they were praying to the God of their forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. But they really knew nothing about what he was like, how he was different from all the gods of Egypt or Canaan or the other nations around them. It wasn't until God gave this revelation of himself to Moses on Mount Sinai and in other places throughout their wilderness wanderings that they learned what the one true God was really like. And that's why it's so important now that Moses, having delivered these commandments and laws, these revelations to the people, that he just put a giant exclamation point on them and say, listen, remember, don't forget, obey all the commandments of God. And by the way, among the commandments that Moses reminds them in the book of Deuteronomy is the commandment not to harvest all of their fields, but to leave behind in their fields, in their orchards, food so that the poor could come behind and gather and obtain food for themselves. Moses reminds them that every 7th year they were to cancel all indebtedness from their brother or sister Israelites so that nobody could be overwhelmed by debt for more than just a few years. God gave them such good and wonderful laws, revealing that he is a great and compassionate God. Well, when it came right to the end, Moses told all of these things again to the Israelites so that they would not forget. Remember that I said this is Moses' swan song? In one of his last public acts, Moses literally sang a song before the gathered nation. And that song begins with these words: I will proclaim the greatness of our God, the name of our Lord. Remember, that was the name that God revealed to Moses at Mount Sinai. Moses goes on to sing, "Holy and just is he. There is no God like our God." Well, if you have to go, that's the way to do it. Blessings.